welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we'll be talking about how to give instructions while we are in virtual classrooms and how to deal with it. Let's get into it. Of course, giving instructions in a real classroom is much easier than a virtual classroom, but today we're going to discuss some things, some tips that it helps you have a better and easier given instructions to your students. First of all, you need to make sure that you have the PDF of the book that you're teaching to them, or you have the PDF or some PowerPoints of the materials that you're going to show them, and just share it in your screen, and it will be easier for them to see that page, see that handout, and see that page of their book to find the related exercise easier. Sometimes, no matter how specific and how clear you give instructions, your students still get confused and they have difficulties about understanding them clearly. So you'd better write your instructions on the screen so that they always can relate to and look at the instructions while they're doing the activities. Kids, this is so useful. Give the instructions while writing them on the screen so that whenever they get confused or they need help, they can relate to your instructions so that they won't ask that much questions from you. When given instructions, you have to be careful that you choose the clearest instruction and the shortest and the most into the point one so that your students will understand it perfectly. Let's look at an example together. In this example, I'll be giving my students one instruction and then we will correct it together to make a better one. Okay everyone, I want you to turn to page 50 of your student's book. Look at exercise 5, the vocabulary part. We have 5 questions and I want you to answer those questions with correct and long answers. I don't want any short answers. Be careful that we do not do number 4 in this exercise and do the others carefully. This was the instruction that is understandable actually, but don't forget that our students are learning English as their second language. No matter kids, teenagers or adults, they need a much shorter and clear and more specific instructions. No matter if you're in classroom or online classroom, but right now that we are in virtual classroom, you have to give much more better and shorter instructions. So let's make this instruction better. This is what you actually had to do. Instead of making that long sentence, I'll do this. Okay everyone, student's book, page 50. Exercise 5, the vocabulary part. Here are 5 questions in this exercise. Answer them with correct and long answers. Be careful, we're not doing number 4 in here. This was that instruction again, but I cut it into small instructions so that the students can follow you. So make sure you ask questions to check if your students understood what they are going to do and what things they shouldn't do. Here are some of my questions. So, which page are we at? Which exercise are we doing? Are we answering with short answers or long answers? Which question aren't we doing? These are some questions that you could ask after each instruction so that your students will answer you, and with hearing their responses you will understand if they understood your instructions or not. Another thing is that if you re-watch your videos when you are teaching students, you will of course see that your gestures are not that much useful in your teaching in a virtual classroom. So you'd better don't use that much of gesture while you're teaching them. you'd better play with your tone of voice. You'd better chat with them, show them visuals, share a screen, give them reactions with emojis instead of showing lots of gestures, because with that front camera of your computer, really your gestures are not that much useful and helpful. Instead of that, showing pictures, showing reactions, chatting with them, and of course playing with your tone of voice will help you through your teaching process in a virtual classroom. We talked about tone of voice, so here is the place that you can play with your tone of voice much more than a real classroom, because the students will see you and hear you. So your voice in a virtual classroom can show them if you want them to answer a question, if you want them to be quiet, if you want them to listen to you carefully. So you can play with your voice and your intonation to want them to do different things, or like give instructions better and much more clear. Be careful about your voice. You can do lots of things with your voice while you're teaching. So to sum up, let's see what we talked about this session. We talked about how to give instructions better in a virtual classroom. The first thing that you had to remember, and the easiest thing, was to give your instructions as short as possible, or if your instruction is long, cut it into small pieces and give short instructions so that your students will answer and respond to your instructions better. Another thing that you had to remember is that write your instructions down if you think that your students get confused or they forget the instructions fast. So you can write your instructions and put them on the screen so that everyone can relate to whenever they want it. Make a PDF of your material or your student's book so that you can share it with them and students can see what page they are at exactly. Play with your tone of voice. Your voice can do a lot more than what you are using it right now for. Another thing to remember is that your gestures are not that much useful, so try chatting with them, sharing your screen, showing pictures, showing visuals, giving them reactions with emojis, rather than using your hands and gestures that much with your front camera. It's not that much interesting for them and useful for them. And the last thing, and the most important thing, is that don't forget to ask them questions after giving your instructions, so that you will see if your students understood your instructions good, or you need to repeat the instructions, or you need to work more on your giving instructions. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for joining me for this video. I'll be posting videos every Tuesday and every Friday. Be careful that you subscribe to my channel and you put your notifications on, and have fun and stay safe.